Welcome back to episode 83 of Wildly Adequate, the show about anything, everything, and usually nothing. If you like the show, please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, check us out. We're on Spotify and YouTube and all over the fucking place. Hit up the Instagram. I, as always, well, not always, am one half of your hosting crew today, Mr. Matthew Arso, and I am joined by only Mr. Patrick today.
Oh, is that my cue to come in?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah. He's just joined by me today. We didn't discuss what I would be saying.
Got a little power hour on our hands here for you, our lovely, undying audience out there, because Mark is at work and Malcolm is predisposed and shit's got to get done. So there you go.
Can we not say what Malcolm is doing or was doing?
Well, I guess he's on his way home now.
Yeah, but like, can we not say what he was predisposed doing, or should we not say that?
I don't know. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but
he was hanging out with a lady.
We'll just leave it. He was hanging out with a lady.
He
was watching Smile 2.
Wow,
that's the more important
was
thing.
he now?
He was watching Smile 2. Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested in his thoughts.
He said it was good.
Oh, very good. Because I know he likes the first one.
What do you mean you were interested in his thoughts? You haven't even seen Smile 1.
But he likes the first one, so I'm curious if he liked the second one, you know?
What does it matter to you? I don't understand.
Because it's just, you know...
Would it motivate you to watch the first one?
Not necessarily, but it would just be good to know, like, oh, they did, you know...
Here's the thing. I watched the first one, so I have a vested interest in,
checking out,
hearing how the second one went.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I'm just getting a little confused as to where your mind's at. That's all.
Well, sorry, I'm just taking my socks off here, raw dogging it.
Didn't need to know that.
Didn't need to know that. So yeah, like I said, we just got a little power hour here for you today. It sounds like we're not doing topics, so we're just gonna kind of, you know.
I mean, you can do one if you want. I just want to start off by saying I've made an interesting observation while being out west in the Great White North. For those of you that don't know, the Great White North is Canada.
And what's that interesting observation?
So you know how there's like a stereotype on like for guys on dating apps of them like holding fish or like being out in the wild and stuff. It's so funny because here, specifically where I'm at, it's a lot of rural areas. And so, I've hopped on the dating sites to see what's going on here, see what's out here. And it's hilarious because the stereotype of guys back where we're from is exactly how it is for girls here. Like every few profiles you'll see is a girl like holding up a fish or like riding a horse or like corralling a cow. Or like they're ice fishing, like they're in like some like frozen area and they're holding up a fish and it's like all frozen around them. It's just so funny to me that the roles are. I guess the guys probably are the same too, but it's like more of a similar presentation between guys and girls.
We'll get back to this in a second. Patrick, do me a favor, because this is something I've noticed in the edit the past couple times. Now that we're here, it's come up to me. Go into your Discord user settings.
Okay.
And go to voice and video real quick.
1 second.
We'll leave this all in. Don't worry.
User settings. I can't remember how to get to user settings at this point.
Here at the bottom left there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
And you're gonna go to
voice and video.
Now at the top of voice and video, it'll have your input device, which should be set to your mic. Do me a favor, take your input volume and crank it down like just a little. Like mine's at 100% right now. Set yours to, let's say, like 90.
Okay, mine's at 90 now.
Okay, and then you can just exit out of that. Just because I've noticed in the, recordings and files of the last few episodes, like Mark and Malcolm are a little quiet, and I have to kind of boost them a bit. I'm pretty much like in the center, and then you're like coming in.
You're pretty much perfect.
I'm pretty much perfect.
You're perfect as usual. Is what you're saying.
Is, whatever. I don't like to brag, but I find that yours has been coming in a little hot. A little loud, but
yeah.
So we'll see what happens now. Anyways, so does this tell me that you're on the apps?
Yeah, like I'm on the apps, just like seeing what's going on out here, and not that it's gonna lead anywhere. in private discussions with you guys, I've made pretty clear what exactly I'm looking for. But
Mm-hmm.
just looking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what I found. A lot of fishing pictures, a lot of corralling cows, lots of girls with cowboy hats on, and
Interesting.
yeah,
Do you
it's
think
definitely a
what?
different demographic.
Well, for sure. But do you think what you're looking for is on
No,
the apps?
no, no, no,
So
it's
like,
not.
so why bother?
Like I said, I'm just, I'm looking around,
Right.
seeing
A
what's out
little
here.
window
Yeah,
shopping.
yeah,
A little window
yeah.
shopping never hurt nobody.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know how I feel calling it window shopping, but
Right.
sure,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe that's the wrong term.
It's a little odd.
Hmm. What are you
Why
gonna do?
windows specifically?
Because that's just it's a phrase.
Oh, okay. Never heard of that phrase
You've
before.
never heard the term window shopping.
I've heard shopping,
It's
like people go
like it's
shopping,
just to
you
say
know?
like you're walking by the windows, like kind of doing like mental shopping, but like you're not actually buying anything.
Yeah.
So it's like you're looking, but you're not like interested.
That could be said with any product though, right?
Yes, but the window shopping still applies.
Sure, I guess so.
So now you went from making me feel like a weirdo to now showing your own hubris and ignorance.
I mean, let the audience be the judge of that, right?
Sure. Everybody
Yeah.
out there, let us know who's weird, Patrick or me.
Yeah.
Patrick or I.
So so yeah, that's pretty much been the observation out here. There's talks of perhaps going to a rodeo next
Wow.
Saturday between me and a couple of people in my program. Um, and this is interesting because it's like an event on Ticketmaster. I'm sure anyone who's listening would know what Ticketmaster is. It's a website that has tickets for concerts like Taylor Swift, most recently for Coldplay.
Mhm.
Matty unfortunately
What a
did not get
disaster
tickets to
that
that.
was. Didn't get any tickets. Angry.
Yeah. So it's actually an event on Ticketmaster,
Huh?
and it's in a stadium, and there's gonna be like bull wrangling, and there's gonna be all sorts of rodeo type activities at this event. Um, how do you feel about bull wrangling, real quick? Do you have any
Well, I was just
feelings
gonna
about
say,
it?
has it ever occurred to you that you're living our good friend Nicola? Shout out Nicola. You're living his fantasy
That's actually pretty funny. No, I never thought about that.
because you basically are. But about bull wrangling,
And yeah, country music is big here,
mm-hmm,
so he would
mm-hmm.
he would actually love it in
He would
Saskatoon. Why doesn't he
love
just come
it.
live out here?
He should.
He can come live out here.
He should.
Cost of living is cheaper here. He's an engineer, and I think there's
Okay,
quite a
you just did a
few.
thumbs up and a thumbs up thing appeared on screen. I don't know what that was all about.
Nice.
Great. Thank you, Discord.
Wait, wait, wait. Watch this. Or sorry, hold on.
Nothing happened. This is great for all our audio listeners. Although I think we are a
Okay.
YouTube centric thing. All right, that didn't work. But about bull wrangling,
Yeah, yeah. What do you feel about bull wrangling? Do you have any thoughts on it?
well, like in Portugal, bull fights, and I know Spain too, but like I'm not Spanish, but in Portugal, bull fights are a big thing. So like that 5 times I've been to Portugal, or was it 4 times in my life? Every time we go, like they show the bullfights on TV, or like if we'd go to a bar or restaurant or something, like it's just as likely that a local soccer game would be on as it is that like a bullfight would be on. I don't know. I get like it's very old school. I assume bull wrangling they aren't killing the bulls. Yes, they're just like
No, no.
yeah, that's a different
I think
story.
that's a little outdated,
That's a different
right? Do they do
story.
that in Portugal
Yes. Well,
till to this day?
from what I remember, the bull fights in Portugal, you'd have like the guy on the horse, and they'd basically have like not spears, like I don't want you to picture that, but it would kind of just be like a long stick with like a small little like I guess a needle at the end of it, and they would kind of like run at the bull while it's running at them and like tag them with the spears, and it would be deep enough that it would like stick in to the bull and stay in the bull, and it would be like bleeding and shit, but they wouldn't like kill it. Whereas I know Spain, I don't know if it is anymore, but there was a time when I was a fucking kid where Spain would do the thing of like they would do that with the bull of sort of like going at it with these like
Pause.
pointy sticks
Pause.
for a bit, and then the finale would be like, I'm gonna kill the fucking bull now. And they would go at it with
Pause.
like a little sword or whatever.
You're telling me that in Portugal they are attempting to get as many of these sticks on the bull as possible.
Yeah.
I wonder what bull wrangling is here. I have no idea. I have no preconceived notions as to what bull
Well,
wrangling
the
is,
fact that it's a bull
and that sounds
wrangling, the
horrifying.
fact that it's bull
That sounds
wrangling
horrifying.
and not bull fighting, I would assume it's just like, hey, like, can you rope and like tie up
That's
this bull or whatever?
I, I want to make myself really clear. I'm not like I'm not like a PETA
Right.
person, you know what I'm saying?
Neither am
Like
I. But the
I'm
bullfights are
not that
fucked up.
I'm not that far into it, but
Right.
that's making me feel
Yeah, the
nauseous. You know what I'm
bullfights
saying?
are definitely a little fucked up.
That's
And because I
insane.
remember being a kid, like watching them and like having that thought of like, this seems like a little fucked up here to have these people. Like, I guess
Wow,
it's good that they're not
even
like,
you as a kid
I guess it's
knew
good
what
that
was
they're
up.
not like executing them, but still, like you're running around and basically like stabbing it with these little
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah. It's good. We're not execute. I think I would argue that in Spain they're more humane than in Portugal. Put that thing out of its
I
misery at the
guess
end of
you
that.
could make that argument,
The
but like
heck?
I was always very much in my dad's camp where like we'd be watching it every not like it wasn't a thing where we'd sit down and be like, all right, it's dinner time, like let's watch the bullfight. But it would be a thing like if it was on or whatever and we noticed it on, my dad was always like, I hope the fucking bull like gores this guy out on its horn or whatever. Like that was
Yeah,
always
yeah.
kind of like we were always rooting for the bull that it would like
That's
fuck up the like guy that was like
wow.
tormenting it, you know?
Wow. Okay. I mean, okay. Okay.
So for whatever
Interesting.
that
Now,
says about us.
yeah, yeah. Well, now that you've said all this, I have actually a little bit of sympathy for what I'm about to say, which is I was talking to this girl
Mm.
who is from Alberta, and her personal opinion is that she's, not a big fan of bull wrangling or fighting or whatever. She thinks it's inhumane and she thinks it's whatever. And I actually didn't have an appreciation for that statement until just now
Mm.
when I learned a little bit about what
Mm-hmm.
it entails.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was I thought it was just holding up like a red cape and dodging it and like
From what I remember, that's
that's what I thought it
part of
was.
it. Like they definitely do that shit as well of like, oh, like let it run at you. But like I think that's more the like
And I thought
show
another part
part.
of it, yeah, but I've also seen videos of bull wrangling where it's like you have the red thing, but then you also like are like in the arena or the ring with the bull, and you're trying to like get on top of it and like take it to ground, like like rustle it with your bare
Sure.
hands
That's maybe more the
or a
wrangling.
rope.
That maybe that's what I'm saying. I feel like that's more the wrangling thing. But the bull fights were the thing of like it's a guy and a bull. Sometimes he's on a horse, sometimes he's not. And the Portuguese ones were more the like how many times can you like tag this thing? Whereas like the Spanish ones were I think the tagging, but like ended in the like you knew it was coming to a close when like the guy was done with the tagging sticks and pulled out the fucking like rapier and it was like all right like he's gonna ice this thing now, you know.
Yeah,
And then they take
yeah.
it, and, you know, it's Europe. They take it and they eat the whole damn thing. Probably
Oh,
turned
okay.
it
Well, I
into.
mean,
It didn't go to
listen.
waste. Like it was for
Okay,
food, but it was also
listen.
like you know you didn't
Yeah,
have to like you know I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, but like I get the whole like you didn't have to torment this thing
yeah, 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 yeah.
to you know
Now, I
get
don't want to
something out of it.
belittle my feeling towards the whole poking part, but at the very least, it's not going to waste. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like at the bare minimum, it's
yes.
not
At
going to
least it's
waste.
gonna get turned into a
Well,
good you know a
it'll
good
feed some
some
people.
meat, perhaps a good ragu. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
I wonder. Here's something I've always wondered about the like vegetarian argument.
mm,
Now, I don't have anything against vegetarians. People can live however they want to live. But the whole moral stance of it has always confused me in that I guess I don't understand the moral argument they're making. They don't have a problem with lions eating gazelles. They don't have a problem with bears eating fish. You know what I'm saying?
I think the argument is that
Animals eat
like
other
I
animals.
think
That's
the
normal.
argument, at least the way I've heard it phrased to me before, is that
Yeah.
like they don't have a choice. Like the lion has to eat the gazelle, the bear has to catch the fish, kind of
That's not
thing.
true. Bears are omnivores like us.
Okay, but we like have the
Bears are
capacity,
omnivores.
but we have the capacity to be like, we don't have to do this. We could just eat like all kinds of other shit, and we're smart enough and aware enough to know that, whereas like the bear isn't, kind of thing.
Now, I would say that that argument carries merit if they were able to produce literature that suggests that vegetarian diets, consistent literature, okay, if there was a consensus that vegetarian diets far are way better in nutrition than diets that include meat.
Well, this was always
Now that evidence might exist. I don't know, but if
well,
it does, then
I
it's
always
not
had like,
published
I
very
guess
well.
I'm sure people would make the argument of like you could just take like protein supplements and all this shit that would like give you the like benefit kind of thing. I don't know. I've definitely like, I understand the moral, let's say, and environmental
So explain the
arguments.
moral then.
I'm just saying I understand it where it's like, hey, isn't it kind of fucked up that like for example, the only reason that chickens still exist on this earth is because we breed them at such a rate to keep them around because they're so delicious. Like if it wasn't
Mhm.
for our interference, like chickens would be gone. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably like, I get that argument of like that's a little fucked up, or like I hope, I mean, I'm sure it still exists, but my hope now is that like, you know, there's like videos from like the 1990s or the 80s or like even the early 2000s of like shaky cam footage where they would go to some farm where it was like a pig farm or whatever, and you would see like how they were basically like, it wasn't like nowadays where people try to be like, you know, they're free range pigs and like, yes, we kill them, but like, you know, they get to live on like land and they're fed well and all this shit. And like in the day when it was like they're kept in like cages pretty much their whole life and then just fucking like tortured and executed. So it's like I understand.
Okay, that is a valid point to bring up, but it's not in favor of being vegetarian. It's in favor of treating animals more humanely. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying? It doesn't speak to the greater issue at hand. Does that make
Sure,
sense?
I get that, but what I'm saying is I've understood the moral argument of like, hey, isn't this a little fucked up? And I'm like, yes, I'll give you that. I've
Yes,
also
the moral
understood.
argument of, hey, hold on, this is because this is important. It's an argument towards the treatment of these animals. It's
Right.
not an argument towards the consumption of meat.
Well, but then people would make the like the ultimate claim that even just killing them for food at all is the reason why you should go. Like even if it was like they were raised.
Exactly. That's the claim they're making, and what I'm saying is I don't understand what the claim is founded on. And you're saying you do, so I'd like to
I'm just
hear
saying
what
I get the
exactly is
moral
founded
argument of like, hey, it's kind of fucked up that we do this like en masse, you know? There's a difference between like a fucking caveman like thousands of years ago being like, I'm going to kill this one boar for like my clan kind of thing and it's going to sustain us for a little bit, compared to like here's 1,000 pigs in a thing that we're just running through a fucking meat grinder like for mass
on.
production bacon or whatever. Oh, bacon's so good. So it's like, again, I understand the moral thing of like, isn't this a little fucked up? Yeah, probably. And I also get the
Well,
environmental claim where like people say like,
yeah.
hey, it's probably really not good for the environment that we do this, you know, that like we're doing the mass farming
One
and all
sec,
this shit.
1 second, man. I'm just gonna switch to my data.
Please.
It's just you were lagging there for a second.
I was going to say it
I just wanna
sounded
make sure
like
I
it
hear
was
you.
glitching out. You switched to that. Do me a favor. Give me another clap in a sec.
Okay, give me one moment while I switch to it.
Please. Whenever you're ready. We're leaving all this in.
Patrick's iPhone. Okay, so I'm on Patrick's iPhone, and I'm gonna give you the clap right now. Okay, so you cut out when you were saying the environmental thing.
Do me a favor,
So
give
I'd
me
like you
one
to
more
say that
clap
again.
just
Sorry.
because for a second there you were like really delayed. There we go. Perfect. Just because I know I think it was the last episode where we were doing this where like you switched your internet halfway through. It like cut
Yeah.
the audio recording and then started a new one, but there was no clap. So I had to kind of like finagle it with, you know, just something you had said. But hopefully the clap makes my life easier editing. But yeah, so there's also the environmental claim. And I remember being like in college, Eric and I took a politics class together, which ended up being like one of the best classes I ever took in college, even though it had nothing to do with film, just because our professor, shout out Paul, he was fucking so awesome and like very just like no nonsense and like passionate, remember? And like Eric and I always remembered like the first day of class where he just like shat all over religion for like a half hour, and it like clearly pissed off some of like the students in the class that like were a little more like bent towards that kind of leaning or whatever. And Eric and I were just sitting in the back of the class like, this is fucking awesome. Like, is, you know, we were so used to, at that point we had spent a year and maybe a year and a half or whatever, or I guess it would have only been first year, but we had spent like, you know, art school and film stuff, and it's very like about your feelings and like this, that, and the other thing. And then there's this guy who's just like, I don't care what the fuck you think, like this thing over here is stupid. And like, you know, he would talk about like indigenous issues and all. Like he was just very
You're speaking candid.
passionate and candid, yes, and that like, you know, endeared Eric and I to him.
It's refreshing.
Yes, quite a bit. And even he talked about one day about like if we really want to like help the environment, he's like, you know what would be something that would like really put a big imprint. He's like, if we all just stopped fucking eating meat. And I'm like, so again, I get the moral claim.
So now explain that though. I don't understand that. How would that
I
help
couldn't
the
personally
environment?
explain it to you, but if from what I remember, it would have to do with like the farming and all that shit and like the greenhouse gases it causes and like the impact I guess it has on, you know, the environment by like doing all this shit unnaturally.
Because a lot of so I haven't looked into it either, but I know a lot of people reject that claim, which is that it will help the environment.
Maybe it won't.
And the arguments I've heard is not to do with farming actually. It's to do with the shipment of all of these like different kinds of meats, which doesn't make sense to me because we ship everything. You know what I'm saying? Like vegetables are shipped and imported and exported. So maybe I'm mistaken in what they're trying to say, but
Well,
yeah.
my thing in response to that was always like I don't like to do the whataboutism kind of shit, but my argument generally speaking with environmental stuff, and this applies to like, and I think we've mentioned this, or at least I've mentioned this on the show before, the idea of like, you know, like when people go after like paper straws or recycling and all this shit, and it's like, you know, the individual level, or I think I mentioned this when I talk about how like the idea of like recycling and Earth Day and like reducing your carbon footprint and all that shit like came from the oil companies, that like they were the ones that like invented all this shit and like started all this shit of like, oh, like reduce, reuse, recycle and Earth Day and all that. It comes from them to like make environmental issues seem like it's an individual issue and not like a company issue and like a country issue and all this shit. And that's my sort of response to the environmental angle of the vegetarian veganism thing is like, why are you pinning it on the individual who just wants to eat a fucking burger when, you know, you've got X company or X country out there that does like all this polluting that's fucking infinitely worse than like, you know, people wanting to just eat a burger or a ham sandwich. So that was always my kind of thing where it's like, and I know that's kind of, it's not necessarily the strongest argument to be like, well, I could do this thing that helps the environment, but what about these guys over here who are doing something worse? Like, I get that that's not necessarily the most
Well, it's
sound
not
argument
necessarily a weak
ever.
argument if it's not necessarily a weak argument if you can demonstrate that the effects of not eating meat would be negligible. Like you can construct sort of models
Right.
and estimate the effect of that. So,
Sure.
and that's the basis of much of climate research is getting data and constructing these models that they say have predictive validity, and then based on those predictive models, you know, make claims about what would happen if we did this or if we didn't, you know, make any changes. You know what I mean?
Sure. My thing
So,
ultimately, like at the end of the day with the whole vegetarian vegan thing is like, I don't like, I'm sure if I really tried, I could be, but like off the top of my head, I'm like, I don't know if I ever necessarily could be or even necessarily want to be. Um, I
well, I know I
think
definitely don't want to be.
I
I know
do
that for
think
sure.
there's a certain amount of like, not to sound too flowery or blow too much smoke up people's asses, but I do think there's a certain amount of like nobility in being like, I'm going to give up this thing for this moral reason, for this environmental, like for reasons bigger than myself. Like I actually, even though like, and I've known vegans and vegetarians or whatever and like kind of tease them or whatever, or like talked about the shit with them. But like at the end of the day, I do think there's a certain like admirable quality to it.
Hmm.
My only thing is I look at it the same way I look at, for instance, with myself being like an atheist or whatever. I know that people make fun of other atheists for like which is always so funny when religious people make this argument to me, but that's a whole other conversation. But like when people are like, oh, like atheists always trying to like jam it down people's throats or like make it sound like they're better than you or they know better than like religious people or they're smarter than this or X, Y, and Z, whatever. And that's my kind of thing with like vegetarians and vegans, where it's like I have no problem with you doing it and like having a conversation about it and yada yada. But it's more when people try to make the like, even though I just said there's a certain amount of nobility in it and it's like admirable, when people try to make the self-aggrandizing like I'm better than you and like I'm on this moral high horse because I fucking don't eat meat, like all this shit. That is stupid and drives me nuts. So it reminds me of like the atheist thing when people get annoyed at like these snarky atheists who think they, are on their high horse and know better than everybody else. So there's definitely like that where it's like there's definitely some vegans and vegetarians where it's like take a chill pill, but generally speaking, in the main, I get it and I think there's something there, even though I personally don't think I could, because I just steak and burgers and bacon and chicken and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's something I'll have to look into more myself, just because, unlike you, I don't think there's something there to the moral
Wow.
claim or the environmental claim. But
Wow.
hey, I'll look more into it.
I think it'll get interesting, especially as like not this Beyond Meat shit, because that's all fucking nonsense. Like that shit's stupid. But like how there are people pursuing like, what if we could just grow a steak in a lab and
Yeah.
like you wouldn't have to.
There's lab grown. Dude, I was at Costco and there's lab grown. Oh my God, what was I looking at recently that was lab? Oh no,
Chicken
it wasn't food.
tenders.
No, it wasn't food. It wasn't food. It was um like sapphires and stuff. It was like sapphires,
But
emeralds.
that's
Yeah.
my thing is I think once that stuff gets to a place where it's like actually
Profitable.
doable, and you wouldn't fucking catch me first
Okay.
in line to be tasting it, because I'm not going to be the person who 10 years after it's like, oh, turns out all the lab grown meat gave everybody super cancer. Like I'm not going to be first in line kind of thing.
What?
But
Super.
I'm not going to be first in line necessarily, but I think if it ever got to the point where it's like, hey, we can do this reliably and safely kind of thing as like an alternative, I think that makes the whole argument much more interesting and much more stronger, because then it would be a thing of like you could have meat, let's say, that's indistinguishable, and again, not this Beyond Meat shit, because that is distinguishable, but you could have like a lab grown thing that's like virtually indistinguishable from the real thing. So like if you're choosing the real thing still, like what does that say or imply when you could take this just as viable alternative? Like I think that makes it more interesting.
Here's what I would imagine. Similar to mute, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but I see it almost in a similar way of music, where, and it's not one to one, I will acknowledge it right off the gate. But as the quality of music has progressed, we went from vinyls to CDs to all this like digital, like the digital era, if you will, right? But there are many people who still listen on vinyl because they claim, oh, like the craftsmanship, like this is better than newer, objectively cleaner. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Digital music.
Well, there's always going to be people. I think it is a good comparison, because there's always going to be people in anything who like hang on to the quote unquote like original or like traditional way. I mean, even in video games, it's like I buy every single one of my video games digitally, not physical, but like there is an active portion of like gamers in the industry that are like, no, like I want to own my shit and buy it physical, and like I like having the box, I like having the disc and like seeing it on my shelf and everything. So it's like, even though that section of the gaming industry is like such a minority now, unlike in the fucking 80s when that's all you could have when you're getting like your NES cartridges and shit. So there'll always be like people hanging on, I think, who would make that argument of like, no, but like the meat fucking from an actual cow is like, it's pure better than like, the lab grown stuff. And, maybe there's something to that. I suppose we'll have to see.
Yeah. So you're lagging on my end again, so I'm going to switch back to the Wi-Fi because I'm
All
so
right.
confused as to why this
I
keeps
can't
happening.
tell if it's
And then I'll
me
give you another clap
or
sync.
if it's, I don't know what it is. Okay.
Well, I'll give you another clap sync in just a second. Okay, I've connected to the building Wi-Fi. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to go yell at my mom for vacuuming.
Go for it. I can't hear it in case. Oh, okay. Well, he took his headphones off, so he can't. You can't hear me. I mean, I guess this is as good as good a moment as I think this is as good a moment as any to say like, share, subscribe. I know we haven't really been active on social media. I'm gonna have to take responsibility for that one, guys. It's been a little iffy for me with regards to making the clips. But yeah, thank you for your patience on that.
All right. With the noise suppression, I don't know if any of the vacuuming will actually get picked up, but I just wanted to go complain anyways.
I don't think it will.
All right.
Yeah.
Give me another clap.
Yeah, you want to be a nuisance to your mother anyways.
Give me a clap anyways. Oh, one more clap would be so
Did it happen?
because it's lagging out a little here again. I'm gonna need a third. Okay, that one I actually got. No, it's just because you kept going like, all right, I'm gonna clap, and your hands would be here, and then it would just like cut, and your hands would be down already, and I'd be like, I didn't even.
Oh god.
Maybe I don't. The thing that's weird with this, I guess this will be a good episode to test it with when I'm editing it. Is I don't know if the footage goes uninterrupted, but I'm screen recording, so it must just be what's on my computer.
Yeah.
So if it lags out,
It has to be, yeah.
just show that. Anyways, we'll cut back in here now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Vegetarians and shit.
yeah. Wait, we were just saying something though.
Oh, the lab grown
and
purists.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of beating a dead horse with this conversation.
Vegetarians
but
wouldn't like that.
wow, you're right. Vegetarians wouldn't. You're kind of quick on your feet, aren't
Thank
you?
you, thank you. Have you ever eaten horse?
Never know.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah. Why did? Oh, okay. Why'd you ask me?
I don't know, I was just curious because I know some people have. I get the argument too that some people make when like people go like, oh, I'd never eat a horse, and then they're like, oh, but you'll eat a cow. Like, what's the difference? And
Yeah.
I understand that what I'm saying is ridiculous and doesn't make any sense, and yet I'm not interested in eating a horse. Like, I don't know what the mental block is, but like I'm not
I think
interested
the
in
mental
eating
block
a horse.
is how you've been raised to perceive horses versus how you've been raised to perceive cows.
I guess, but like, because people say like I'll never eat a dog, and then people will be like, but pigs are smarter than dogs, blah 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 blah, kind of thing. I'm like fully aware of that, fully understand, but like pig is food and dog is friend, so it's like,
What does it matter that pig is smarter than dog though? And by what margin are they smarter?
Because I think some
Does it
people
even
will say
matter?
like, oh, I'd never eat a dog because like they're so friendly or like they're pets or blah blah, and people would be like, yeah, but people have like pigs as pets and pigs are even smarter than dogs,
Yeah.
so it's like what's the difference? Why wouldn't you eat the dog? Like, again, I understand
Yeah,
it's a
teacup
ridiculous
pigs
argument.
are friendly as hell.
I would like a pet pig, hopefully.
A teacup pig, right?
I would love
Not a big
teacup
one.
pig, even if it was like
I
a
want a small
medium-sized pig. I would love a
Yeah.
pet pig, a dog, and a cat. And I know I don't think this is
You want to live on a
legal.
farm, it sounds like.
I don't think this is legal, but I would love a raccoon too.
Oh.
Like if I could have those.
Have you ever considered living on a farm?
No, because I don't. I mean, maybe a little, but like, I don't want to be like running animals and like out in the field herding sheep and shit. Like, I would like to live in a house, but just like have a dog, have a cat, have a pig, and like a raccoon. That'd be so fun.
You know what videos pop up for me? Quite more than I think they should. Videos of sheep getting sheared.
Oh.
It's just so funny to watch them. Like, they're just there. They're like, limp.
Mm-hmm.
They're alive, but they're just like sitting there, and then the person's like manhandling them and like shearing them. And
yeah, the
funny.
shit I get in like algorithms and stuff like that is weird because I feel like because I've been on Instagram long enough, and I mean, I guess Instagram is really the only social media that I use. Like, my Instagram algorithm is pretty central to me, where it's like, here's like nerdy comic book shit or like movie stuff or video game. Like if I'm going on like an explore page or whatever. But
yeah,
I found not too long ago that I don't use YouTube Shorts at all, even though it's basically just like a TikTok or an Instagram Reels. But like, I was watching some stuff on my YouTube Shorts on my phone or whatever, and like because it doesn't really know me, like it has some things where it's like here's like a comic book thing, here's like a video game thing, but like a lot of it's just shit that's like random that like it feels like it's just kind of like seeing what sticks. And like I watched one short one time that was like people doing like the airsoft like shooting thing where they do these like massive battles in like fucking Europe or whatever, where there's like people in like ghillie suits and all this like crazy shit that are holding like actual like assault rifles but that shoot like the little airsoft pellet. It's like paintball but like on crack. Um and every once in a while I get like videos recommended like that. And there was also a time where like I watched one video, and I guess this guy's whole thing is he's just like this crab fisher or whatever, but like he'll like hold up a lobster and be like, oh, look at the size of this lobster, and it's like covered in barnacles and shit, and then like uses
And
pliers
he
to like
cleans it. Yeah, yeah,
clean
yeah.
it and take all the
Seen that guy.
barnacles off and then just throw it back into the water. And I watched like a couple
Yeah.
of his things, and then like that's all my shorts was just like these videos of this fucking guy like cleaning these crabs and whatever. And like
Those ones are kind of satisfying.
they are. There's something
Those
to
ones are
it. I don't know.
satisfying.
I feel like
Yeah.
I've heard this said before, and I'm definitely not the first to ever say this, but I feel like YouTube is so like I don't need anything else, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I don't watch a lot of TV. Like I watch the occasional movie. I mean, even just in the past couple of weeks, I've gone to the movies.
You watch the occasional movie? That's how you would describe yourself? That you watch the occasional movie?
More frequent than that, maybe.
Okay.
But I don't watch a lot of TV nowadays anymore because I'm always on YouTube watching like
You're saying all you need is YouTube and a movie theater,
sure.
and then that covers
Yes,
the media
and
you
that would
watch.
cover like outside of games and comics and all that stuff. Like I feel like YouTube's got such a like it's a literal infinite endless well of content and stuff that like I almost don't need anything else, because it's like everything and anything I could ever want is on YouTube. So yeah, if you gave me like YouTube plus a movie theater, I think that would be a good I think I'd be good with that,
Mm-hmm. So P. Diddy has been in the
Oh
news
boy,
for quite a
all
while.
right, this is where we're going.
What do you know about the situation with P. Diddy?
Not too much other than just like he's being like charged on all this shit, and that all these crazy fucked up parties and like doing all this really weird shit. And I'm like, the type of like music industry and entertainment industry shit that like people on the outside always say of like, there's all this weird stuff going on in Hollywood or the music biz. Like that kind of stuff come to life.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because when stuff like this comes out, and I feel like I vaguely recall us having the same conversation, but you'll have people claiming that everyone in Hollywood knows
Yes.
about this. Like this isn't a secret in Hollywood with the in group. We all know about this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's two questions that come to mind, like the plausibility of that being actually the case, and that secret being contained.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And two, I guess how a culture like that persists.
Well,
You know what I'm
we
saying?
kind of talked about this last week because you started one topic and then it turned into talking about celebrities. And it kind of went not necessarily just down this Diddy route, but like we did mention it a little bit. And it's what started me saying like this is why people shouldn't really take celebrities and their opinions on shit like that serious and all this stuff, because it's
I
like
remember that.
a lot of them either are aware of bad shit going on and like don't say anything about it, or they like actively participate in it. So it's like, why should you care what X celebrity has to say about, X thing? But I don't know. It's weird. There's definitely like, I mean, this was something I like thought about during the Me Too stuff when like all this shit started coming out about like Harvey Weinstein and like all these people where it's like, oh, they're like these fucking sexual predators and whatever and all this shit. And then it's like people being like, oh yeah, like I heard things, or like people knew about this, or blah blah blah. And it's like, then fucking why is it taking this long for like shit to come
But
out
the
about
phrase,
it?
but the phrasing of "I've heard things," you don't sympathize with that in that you won't. It's something big. Like you won't just you're not going to necessarily take action on a rumor you've heard. You know
Sure.
what I'm
I mean,
saying?
even like I know obviously you're out of province right now, so you're not working anywhere. But even at our workplace, like there's constantly like rumors about this or gossip about like nothing to the same extent as a fucking, Diddy or a Weinstein. Like it's a
Hmm.
normal quiet workplace, but like you'll hear the rumor of like, oh, did you hear like so and so are dating or so and so broke up? Like there's all
Actually, can I
this.
interrupt you?
Please.
There actually has been things to quite a big magnitude, but anyways, I
Well,
don't
sure,
think
but
it's
those are like
appropriate for us to
one
talk about it
offs.
here.
They're like one offs. They're not,
Yeah.
they're not like a consistent like, hey, for 20 fucking years, Diddy's been like
Yeah.
doing this shit, or all these fucking celebrities have been taking flights to Epstein's Island. Like it's not
Yeah.
to the same extent or anything like that. But I'm sure in all situations, everybody like hears things, but like to me, it's like, I don't know. There are definitely people that are like more aware of shit, more than just I heard something, or like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend told me something. Like people that are more in the know who don't say
Hmm.
and do stuff. And like that, I don't get how you could do that. And that, I mean, I suppose I get how you could do it, but it's just, I find it hard on the outside to be like, how do you not say something? Because to me, what always drove me nuts with the
Hmm.
Weinstein thing was like when you had all these people coming out and being like, even like bigger names or whatever, and not even just him, but like other people in the industry, and like bigger names would come out and be like, oh, it was the whole like, I was told, sleep with me if you want this role and all this kind of stuff, and this is how I got like a break or like whatever the fuck the thing is. To me, it was always just like, obviously, I want to be clear about this. It's not apples to apples. Like there's differences. But to me, if you were one of these actresses who like got called into Weinstein's fucking office and he's like, hey, you know, do me if you want this part kind of thing, and I'll like put you in everything and turn you into a star. If you're one of those people who like not only took that deal, because again, this is what I'm saying, where like I get how people could be like susceptible to that, especially in an industry as competitive as like film. Like I want to be like, I want to get my break, and here's somebody offering it to me, but I have to do something shitty. But to me, it's just like, I don't know, to then come out like years later and be like, oh yeah, like he did this to me too, and like what an evil piece of shit. But it's like, but you didn't say anything, which allowed it to like go on for years and years and years and happen to like all these other people, whatever. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. I find that maybe this is like out of pocket, but I've always found that to be like really shitty, and at the very least like makes you complicit in like the outrageous shit some of these fucking dudes were pulling like in Hollywood and the
Hmm.
entertainment industry. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I do understand.
And I feel like
I think
if
I
I
understand what
when
you're
I
saying.
say that, I feel like, and I guess I've never even like really verbalized that or like had a conversation with people about it. But I feel like people would hear that and go like, "Oh, you're just
You're victim
like
blaming.
victim blaming or any of this shit." It's like,
Hmm.
no, because like don't get me wrong, whatever, like if you were insert actress's name and that happened to you, like that's fucked up and wrong and should never have happened, and like you are owed like some sort of like retribution for that, and like even if it's just as
Yeah.
simple as like Weinstein fucking gets sued into the you know next dimension and like he's done and will never do anything ever again, like even if it's just that like kind of shout out to an earlier topic, that schadenfreude and that like satisfaction of like you did this to me and now you're getting your comeuppance, like at the very least, like I'm not saying any of that. It's more to me just the thing of like, but you took the deal kind of thing. Like, yes, it was
Yeah.
wrong that this happened to you, but you also took it
Hmm.
for
Like
the
the
benefits.
context. Yeah, the context is they had it was a choice kind of thing.
Yes, to me, it's
And in
like,
that specific context where it's you can have this role only if you sleep with me, then I get what you're saying. Where there's like, yeah, that's a very shitty thing for that person to do, but you're the agent in that case. where you have the crossroads in front of you. You know what I mean?
But it's not even so much
So
that like even if you're some actress who like already made it in the industry or whatever, and like,
that would make it worse, wouldn't it? If you already made it in the industry.
but I'm saying if you're like at like some Hollywood party and you are already, whether you're super famous or not, but like if you're somebody who's in the industry and it's a thing, it's more a thing where it's less of like the, you know, hey, if you want this part, you got to do this thing. Like it's more of a, if you're at like an industry party and fucking Weinstein walks up behind you and like squeezes your ass and it's like, oh, you're hot and whatever. Like you're a famous actress, you're hot. Like you don't need me because you're in already. But like I'm being a fucking creep and like harassing or assaulting you at that point. Even that to me is like a, it's not that you necessarily like took the deal or because you didn't, it wasn't that, like it was more, if it was just straight up like he did this thing to you and that's fucked up, which it is undeniably, but like to me it's what the hang up for me is just the not saying anything, like the not
Mm-hmm.
coming up. And maybe there's reasons for it. I get the thing of like if it is a powerful person like him, like you're worried about
Mm-hmm.
the repercussions of that, and like is it the
Yeah.
opposite where it's not that he's giving you your career, like does he then go out of his way to like tank your career? Like I get that too, and I'm incredibly
There's also a
sympathetic.
question of proof.
Sure, there's that. Well, that's why I'm incredibly sympathetic to the argument like how hard it is for victims to come forward about shit, and like
Yeah.
maybe I'm not being as sympathetic as I necessarily should be or want it to come
Mm-hmm.
across as, cuz like in the States, for example, when Trump appointed that Brett Kavanaugh guy as one of the Supreme Court justices, and that Amy something, was it Amy? It might have been Amy. I forget. The woman that came out basically and was like, "Hey, in college, like him and his fucking buddies like assaulted me or whatever," and it turned into this whole, you know, public shitstorm or whatever. It's like that. I don't envy that position even a fraction of a percent. Like that's an incredibly exposing thing to do to yourself and like an uncomfortable thing to do, to the way she like put herself in the limelight like that and had to like deal with all these fucking MAGA assholes being like, we're gonna find you and kill you, and like all this dumb shit she had to deal with. So it's like that's why I understand like how hard that is and commendable it is and like the bravery it takes to like lay yourself on the line like that. So I understand all that. To me, it's more just the hang up of like if you knew a Weinstein, for example, was doing all this shit for years and you were someone that he did it to, like I don't know. To me, it's just like I have a hard time getting the like how you didn't come forward sooner and like try and stop this or like protect other it, like stop it from happening to other people, at the same time acknowledging what I just said about like, you know, the balls it takes to like come out in the first place and like
I don't understand what you're saying anymore, to be honest. You've so you're saying you don't get how one wouldn't come out, but you've already acknowledged all of the difficulties that are associated with coming out. What isn't that the answer?
to some extent yes, it's more just like from the outside, the hang up for me is just like how could you not like
Like that's the logical in some ways objective like conclusion, which is you want to stop this from happening to other people and you want justice for yourself. But I guess the, you know, fear, the question of proof, the power the person might have, all these things weigh heavily on a person,
sure, I
right?
guess I'm sort of like talking myself in and out of both sides of it, of like
Mm.
how could you not feel compelled, let's say, to protect or like stop that from happening to somebody else while at the same time
And there's also an assumption that they don't feel compelled. How do you know they didn't feel compelled to? You know what I'm saying?
maybe, I don't know, I don't know,
Hmm.
I don't know, there's a lot of yapping, maybe
Yeah.
I'm not making any sense here.
um, yeah, we kind of went a little far from. I guess this is still related to the P Diddy stuff because he's being accused of all this sexual misconduct against both men and women, apparently.
Sure.
Um,
That to
yeah.
me, let me put it that way. That to me is a different thing because what it sounds like with a lot of the Diddy stuff is it's like it's not that like shit happened to other celebrities. It's more that like they were there and like aware of fucked up shit that was happening to other people and maybe even participated in it. I guess that's like a
Mhm.
different thing where it's like in the Weinstein case, it's like you had this shitty thing done to you. I'm sitting here on the sidelines, Mr. Benchwarmer being like, how come you didn't come out and say anything? But at the same time, I acknowledge like the shit that brings and the sort of courage it takes to say something. So that I get. The Diddy thing is more different to me where it's like if you're a famous celebrity who gets invited to one of these parties and you see Diddy and other celebrities doing like heinous shit to people kind of thing, that to me I have like a harder time because it's like nothing has happened to you. So by you coming out and
Mhm.
like saying anything, I think the cost or like the risk of that on you isn't as high as somebody who had something done to them. You're just more like a bystander in this situation. So I guess maybe that's the difference where it's like you like saw something weird or bad or like fucked up happening that had nothing to do with you. You just saw it there, but like you didn't say or do anything about it kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if these claims have been substantiated or debunked yet, but I'm sure you've seen the amount of claims that Mr. Diddy has tapes of a bunch of people doing
Sure.
God knows what,
I'm
you
sure
know?
that definitely is what helps to buy a lot of, tight lips is that like,
Hmm.
oh, I've got dirt, on you doing X, Y, or Z. I don't know. The whole thing's fucked up. Maybe people out there will get what I'm trying to say. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't want it to sound like I'm disparaging, you know, anyone or anything in these situations. It's more just like from the outside, it's that, it's of two minds where it's like on the outside, it's like, how are you not like screaming from the fucking rooftops some of the shit that like is going on while at the same time acknowledging, the risk involved in that in some of these situations, sometimes like the literal risk, again, like this woman in the States coming out about that Supreme Court judge, where it's like it's not like you have people on Twitter being like this person's dumb, like you have literal fucking gun nut whack jobs off their fucking rocker, you know who would shoot you if given the chance kind of thing. um so I don't know, maybe what I'm saying is not as clear as I would like it to be, but I hope it makes some kind of sense. What I'm saying is it's an argument or it's a thing made in good faith. I'm not trying to like go after anyone.
Would you say that you're a fan of an individual named Liam Payne?
No, like I personally am not a fan of him, but what happened to him is fucked up.
What happened to him?
He died.
Oh, okay. How? Well, you said what happened to him was fucked up, so
I
I
mean,
don't
it
know how he died.
sounds like he might have just jumped from like the floor of whatever building he was at. I know there's all these like people out there trying to like string a conspiracy together that like he was murdered or something happened or like, whatever, but whether it was a
He committed
murder,
suicide?
I don't know. I thought that's what I haven't paid that much attention. I just thought that's what the prevailing wisdom is. Whether he was murdered or committed suicide, either way, it's like a sad, you know, messed up thing. The guy was what, 31?
Wow, you got that exactly right.
Like he was a young guy
You said you're not a fan?
who,
How'd you know his exact age?
because I've seen the headlines.
Mm.
So, whatever happened, the end result is the same and it's sad and unfortunate. And, even though I don't have any connection to him, like the day it happened, it was clear, even just going through like Instagram stories and reels and shit, like how many people, did have some sort of connection or were fans or, impacted by the
Mm-hmm.
by the art. So, it's messed up.
Yeah, I'm just reading quickly this article about the incident. And yeah, it seems like it's a little up in the air as to whether apparently there was I don't know if this report is credible, but there was two women with him and that he died from, falling from a considerable height. So yeah, that's messed up, dude.
I don't know. Like I said,
Messed up.
there's some people who like immediately put the tinfoil hats on of like he was murdered or this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, to me, at the end of the day, as somebody who like with no horse in the race, it's just like the end result is like if he was murdered, that's fucked up, and if he killed himself, that was fucked up. Like, so either way, it's just, it's sad and unfortunate, and it's one of those, gone too soon type of situations.
Yeah. I mean, I in my youth, I listened to One Direction a little bit. I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I liked some of
Mm.
their hits. So, yeah, that was a little unfortunate to see. Not that they're a band anymore. Obviously, they haven't been a band for a while, but
Mm-hmm.
he was part of that thing. That was what was it in like 2000? I want to say 11, 2011, I think.
What, One
20. No, no,
Direction?
no, not 2011. Yeah, yeah, like 2012 maybe, right? That's when they were
Somewhere
really big.
around there, yeah.
13ish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So how do you feel about this power hour so far?
I was about to say, I feel like this has been pretty fucking heavy.
Oh, okay.
We went from we went from like bullfights and like, vegetarianism and veganism and all that stuff to like fucking celebrities and like all this
I kind of like the
fucked
flow
up
though. I
Diddy
kind of like
shit. And now
the
Liam
flow of it.
Payne.
The flow of it I kind of like though because we started like, you know, stuff that was on our mind recently, and then
Mhm.
when I felt like it was waning a little bit, I literally just searched up world news and I don't know,
Oh,
just
and
trying
don't
to
get me
start.
wrong. Good episode. People out there,
Yeah.
let us know. What do you think? Is this an interesting episode? No, I think this is a good episode so far, but it's just like it got heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm honestly good to call it here if you're good
Wow.
too,
How
unless
long
you want
has
to
it
bring
been?
something up.
I don't know.
I
Well,
don't
I
know. I
was
think it's
just
been
gonna
like
ask
50 minutes.
generally, and I was gonna save this as like a topic on a regular episode. But
Sure.
fuck that. We're just gonna do it now. But I did have a. It feels odd to call it a topic, but just like a checking in. You know, how's life? How's Patrick? Checking in. How's things?
Mm, things are good.
Hmm.
Things are moving along. Is there anything specific you want to know about?
Yeah, just general checking in. And this was something I was gonna pose to the other two on like a
Okay.
regular episode at some point of just like a what's up in everybody's lives. Just checking
hmm
in.
We talk pretty often though. I
We,
think you know what's going
I
on in my life.
guess, but not like, I don't know, not to the extent of what I guess I thought this topic would be with the four of us. Of like, because like I feel like if we're just talking normally, it's just like, oh hey, what's up, like blah blah blah, or like, oh, this funny thing happened today, or like, this, that, and the other thing, but not necessarily on like you know a not necessarily deeper level, but just on like a different level, let's say.
Mm. Is there something that you haven't shared that you want to share?
Not really. I'm just checking
Oh,
in.
there's
It's,
nothing on your mind. Like, let me check in on you. What's going on with you?
I'm good. You know, business as usual. Same old, same old. I applied to two more jobs the other day. Um,
Okay. On
one of
Indeed.
which,
On Indeed.
one of the two might have been, but the other one was somewhere else. But
Okay.
one of the two that I applied to, like a couple days later, reached out and was like, "Hey, you're someone we're like considering
Let's
Um, so
go.
here's like this questionnaire thing we want you to do. It was like a 40-minute fucking
Oh my
questionnaire of like,
goodness.
here's just like some
40-minute
different, it
questionnaire.
wasn't like timed or anything, but they said on their thing like it might take you like 30, 40 minutes, which was about right.
Jeez.
Um, and so I filled that out Friday, a couple days ago. And when I was done with it, it was like, all right, like thanks for submitting this. You know, depending on how you did and what we think and yada yada yada, like we'll let you know if we're like interested in like doing an interview or like pursuing things
What were the
further.
questions?
Some of them were just like, some of them like there were only a handful that were like ones you would have to kind of do like a short answer kind of question to. Others were just more like, you know, what kind of experience do you have with this? And some were literally just like drop down boxes of like, you know, select whatever like thing fits or is applicable or makes the most sense. Like, so some of them were like fairly easy. One of the questions was literally just like upload like shit you've worked on or like provide links. So I uploaded like my demo reel, a short doc I did when I was at Sheridan, um, and I think one of the like videos when I was doing my co-op at Sheridan and like I guess working for the school technically, which is still I guess technically the only like editing job or film job I've ever had was my co-op. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I included one of the videos that like we had shot and that I put together because we made great balloons because I don't even know how the fuck I did that. Um, but we made these videos that were like for the school or like advertising the school. So like one of them was just this like 60-second video about like, you know, the student union or like student services or whatever. So I included that. And then I put like the link, the YouTube link to my demo reel and like the link to my website, which has all my shit on that. So some of the questions were like not, they were sort of whatever, but then there was one that was kind of like, one of them was just sort of like the usual, like, what do you think sets you apart from or above like other people applying to this position and why should we go with you and not other people? So that was more of like a short answer written kind of thing. And then the other one that kind of stumped me for a little bit, like I knew what I wanted to say, I just didn't know how to phrase it. And I actually called my mom because she was out and like asked her, and she sort of told me to like narrow it and focus it a little more. Was basically like the question was, what parts of your resume and like your body of work do you think underestimate your like skills and value and that kind of shit?
Mm. Interesting.
And my initial thought when I was reading it was like, well, the entire resume underestimates me. I was like, the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it's like a, I'm in a creative, you know, visual field and you're trying to like gain anything by like a bunch of written shit. I was like, that inherently underestimates. Because I was even saying, I was like, that's like asking a fucking athlete that you're going to draft onto a team, like, you know, for a highlight reel, and they give you like a resume of like, oh, I played on
Mm-hmm.
this team and I played on this team and
Their
yada, yada,
season
yada.
stats.
Hmm?
And they give you their season stats like on paper.
I guess, but even that would be better than like someone in my position because at least that would be like tangible
Mm-hmm.
shit you could put out. Um,
True.
whereas like in my case, I just felt like, and that's how I was kind of thinking about answering it. My mom was like, well, you can't just say that because that also sounds very like, you know, flowery and like, you know, my entire resume underestimates me because, you know, I'm fucking, you need to see it to believe it and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, like I'm not trying to say that in like a bragging way, more in just a literal, like, unless you're looking at shit I've worked on kind of thing or like seeing me edit something, like how can you really base anything off of that? But I ended up answering it more in a way that was like, you know, my resume doesn't necessarily like my personality doesn't shine through and the fact that like I can work, you know, independently or like as a people person with other people, like that doesn't come through kind of thing. Or I said like, you know, one of the projects I worked on, like at the time I worked on it has like, you know, April 2021 to March 2021. And I was like, that is an underestimate of me and my skills because when you read it, it just comes across as like, oh, you worked on this project for a month. But what it doesn't show you is like the late nights and all the hours I put in and like, that kind of shit. So I tried to answer it in a way that was like a little more focused and not just like, hey, the
Mm-hmm.
entire resume is an underestimate. But I don't know. I thought I did good on this little questionnaire they gave me. I thought I answered it well. I did so to the best of my abilities. So I don't know. They didn't really give me like a time frame of like whether we're interested or not. Here's when we'll let you know kind of thing. So now I get to play the waiting game, which is my least favorite thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. So in terms of checking in on me, how am I doing? I'm good. I'm still looking for a job. Um, I'm trying not to get my hopes up with this one specific thing, and that helps because I'm a gigantic pessimist a lot of the times. Um, but it's at the very least, even if this doesn't work out, it's nice to like finally even just get like some acknowledgement from one of these applications, because all I've ever gotten is silence or we're not interested and we've kind of moved on in the hiring process, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to finally like have some thing, whether it works out or not, at least acknowledge of like, oh, like we're interested, blah blah blah, do this questionnaire thing, okay, we'll let you know like how it goes. It's nice to finally feel like
Yeah.
I have a seat at the table. I have a chance, to put it in
Yeah.
gambling terms. Am I going to, lose all my money and bust? Maybe, who knows, but like it's nice to finally have a fucking seat at the blackjack table and feel like I can actually, play a little and rely
Roll with
on
the big boys.
myself now to like get
Yeah.
me there, as opposed to just like sending applications in and not really having a chance other than just fucking praying.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, that's good.
So
Things are
yeah.
happening.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, things are happening. I'm good. And you know, business as usual. This is what I thought this conversation would be, by the way, with the other two, is just, checking in on life stuff. Because we've never
Yeah. I
talked
mean,
about
who
this
knows? Maybe they have.
necessarily.
Yeah. 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 Maybe they have stuff. I don't know.
Maybe they have stuff.
Maybe they have stuff.
Maybe we'll
Yeah.
have to save the checking in.
We could start with the checking in next time.
There you go. But
Yeah.
I've seen a couple movies in the theater on my own recently, which has been nice.
Um,
As much as I
do you
love,
feel sad? Would you feel upset if I said I think people who go to the movies alone are maybe a little sad? Would that upset you if I
it
said that?
wouldn't bother me, no, because
Yeah.
I love going to the movies on my own.
Yeah.
As much as I love going like with you guys and it's all fun, even when it's something like when Mark and Malcolm and I went and saw The Substance, even that is fun because it's like we see it together, we experience it together, and then there's that immediate like I really liked it, and the two of them being like that fucking was like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, so even that, whether we all liked it or all hated it or like there's varying opinions, like that's always a lot of fun. Um, but there's something every once in a while to it. Me being Mr. Solitary sometimes. There's something to just being in a movie theater by yourself every once in a while that like I quite enjoy.
Experiencing it alone.
Yes. And just kind of like
Going
having it
going
be,
through the experience
yeah, and having
alone.
it be more like a personal
Endeavor.
endeavor. Yeah.
True. True.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
There you go. And so you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. I need to study for stats.
Oh,
So
wow. Oh, so you're just trying to get out of here.
I'm trying to get out of here now.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, I'm glad things are good with you. Perhaps we'll have to
Thank
check in with Mark and Patrick at some point, but Mark and Patrick, Mark and
Yeah,
Malcolm
yeah.
at
Mark and
some point.
Patrick. Yeah, yeah. Mark and Patrick. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stop. But hopefully next week we'll all be here and we will be able to do our Halloween episode, talk about some spooky stuff. Malcolm had an idea for a topic for that episode that I think would be quite fun.
Oh, cool.
It's one of those topics that I assume might even take up most, if not all of the
Oh,
episode.
cool. Okay.
A tier list, if you will, to put a little tease
Oh my
out there
goodness.
for
We haven't done that in
for,
quite a
for
while.
for the fans. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a while since we've done a little tier list. So yeah, who knows? We'll see what comes of that. But anyways, I guess we'll get up on out of here then.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Take us out, Matt.
Well, there you go. Is there anything you wanted to get off your chest before we get out of here?
I need to study for stats.
There
That's
you
what
go.
I need to get
You
off my
study for
chest.
stat. Well then, thank you everybody, and thank you Patrick for joining me, and being available for this little one-on-one power hour. It went places I didn't expect. It got heavier than I thought it would, like I said, and
That's always sort of the trade-off, right? Without like when it's like natural or spontaneous is a
mhm,
better word, is that it has the potential to,
mhm,
surprise you.
to wind and
Yeah.
weave and go all over the place. Well, anyways, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit of a shorter one, I think. Maybe, who knows? I felt like I yapped a lot, and I hope I made some amount of sense. If you liked us, please, as I mentioned in the beginning, like, share, subscribe, check us out. We're everywhere. You can find us, YouTube, Spotify, the usual haunts. Um, I hope you enjoyed this power hour. Next week, hopefully, we'll be back with the full squad, do a little Halloween episode, and I think after that we're gonna have to start thinking about getting some guests on. I'm feeling in a guest mood. We're gonna have to get Paulo on and Matthew and maybe
Adriano.
Adriano and maybe Mr. Eric, and get some people on, see what we can swing. I'm sure Varsh will come on again at some point because I know she likes being our reigning champ for most
Do you want to do a 20v1?
appearances. 20v1?
Yeah, have you ever seen those?
No.
Where it's like a dating setup where it's like you and 20 girls and you're trying to narrow down the girls to who you want to, but obviously it wouldn't be you because you have Varsh, but
Yes. No, yeah, I'm not
yeah.
interested in that, you know, in spirit, but I mean, I suppose the idea is interesting.
We
That'd be
don't
a
have,
funny
the
idea.
problem is we don't have 20 girls
I
to bring
know.
for anyone
We'd have to do
else.
it for you or Mark or maybe Malcolm, but yeah, I don't know who in our orbit. We'd have to just like put an open invitation.
We'd have to put an open invitation and whoever comes, like,
hmm
and if we only had 10, we'd have to work with what we've got,
Yeah, there you go. And if we just got 0, we'd have to pivot
We'd
immediately
have to,
with our tail between our legs.
oh God.
But maybe you and Mark and Malcolm. I'm
Yeah,
sure the
yeah.
three of you could draw in some interested suitors.
That would actually be so funny if we were able to pull off a 20v1.
Mhm.
How would we even? Anyways,
It'd be like a dating show.
anyways.
Anyways, that's a whole other thing. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you around.